Joining us now is Elaine Halligan, a parenting expert from the advice and support organisation, The Parent Practice. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Charlotte.
What do you make of this then? 5-year-olds with mobile phones?
It's incredulous, isn't it? And I think a lot of your viewers just listening today will just say it's a piece of nonsense. 1 in 10% of children aged 5 are getting mobile phones. The last thing they need is more access to screens. And screens are all over their lives, whether it's with the computer or the internet or television. And we would say the last thing they need is access to another screen. But I think what it highlights is that this is a really modern phenomena. And actually the BlackBerry, believe it or not, has only been out since '99. And the iGeneration has only been out for 10 years. And I think we're living in a phenomena where it's sudden, it's very disruptive to us all. And I think even us as adults, or us as parents, are struggling to manage what I call the distraction trap. So it comes as no surprise to me that there's a small minority, and it is a minority, isn't it? It's only 10%, but I fear that that figure may get greater. But it really illustrates, I think, how parents are struggling with what their values are in life.
And there are those parents who are saying it gives their child freedom, they're worried about it from a safety point of view, and that's why they decide to give them a phone at a young age.
That's an interesting argument, isn't it? And I would say you have to have a serious look at your childcare arrangements if you're worried from a safety point of view where your 5-year-old is. There's absolutely no reason for children, I think, of primary school age to have a mobile phone and have access to even more internet. And I think the internet access is a big issue. It's only recently that it's been diagnosed now as a health disorder, internet addiction. So why on earth would we as parents, be modelling behaviour and introducing that earlier in our children's lives? It defies belief.
And actually, it's the example of single parents who've been getting in touch to say that they have given their children phones because they've decided for ease of access to be able to maintain that contact with their child. They've decided to give them a mobile phone from an early age. Is that a reasonable?
I think it is a reasonable argument. And when we coach separated families, one of the biggest issues that separated families have is when you're with the non-resident parent, how can the resident parent get in touch? So perhaps there is that small argument that for a minority of children, it may be very helpful and maybe reassuring for that resident parent when they're visiting.
And what about advice then on pester power? Because what happens is one child in the class gets a phone and then they all want one, then they go back and say, well, all my friends have got a phone. How difficult is it as a parent to be able to say, no, not until you're a certain age, when all the other children in the classroom have got them?
Charlotte, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Pester power is one of the key issues for parents. And I think many parents struggle with this idea of what do I do to keep Johnny happy? And what is our role as parents? If it's to make our children happy, I could make my teenagers happy tomorrow by buying them the latest gadget, but I'm not going to do that. So our role as parents is to accommodate their needs, but not their wants. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of parents get caught in this trap of really trying to make their children happy, which means that we accommodate their wants, and therefore we succumb to pester power, which means that, oh gosh, most parents I speak to really need help in terms of how to be positive, how to parent positively, say no to your child, and also mean no. And also be really clear about what your values are. So yeah, I think it's really challenging for parents when they don't have those skills to be able to be absolutely clear with their children. No means no.
And then it seems for those parents who are deciding, even perhaps at a later age, that their children should have a mobile phone, it's not keeping an eye on the bill. Are you surprised by the fact that the vast majority of parents just seem to give their children a free rein and don't worry about the cost of it?
So again, it's back to family values, it's back to modelling, it's back to what's important to you. And we would say that, most parents understand that raising their children is all about giving them skills to kind of cope with life. And one of life's main skills is being able to budget properly. So if you as a parent aren't modelling how to budget and you're not capping your children's mobile phone bill, again, that's not really teaching them some key life lessons, but it really boils down to family values. But really, really important, I think, to keep an eye on it. At the end of the day, it's about communication and it's about trusting your child. And I think if you were to ask me what an appropriate age was to have a mobile phone, I always say transition's a really great time. So when you're transitioning from primary to secondary school, I really like to say that's a rite of passage. It's a really important time in a child's life, and I think what better way to celebrate that rites of passage, if it's appropriate to you and if it's appropriate to your values, by giving them a mobile phone. And I think by giving them that mobile phone, it demonstrates trust, it opens up communication, and it's just the next stage in a child's life.
OK, Elaine, good to talk to you. Thanks for that. That's Elaine Halligan there from The Parent.